This is Missing Persons with Lannie Love, where we bring visibility to the unheard, the overlooked, and the unanswered. I'm your host, Lannie Love. Our case file today is Celeste Rivas Hernandez, a teen from Riverside County, California. Court filings describe it as an investigation into murder and name Burke as the grand jury target. Let's step back to the beginning, before the headlines, before the grand jury, to understand how this case unfolded. Who was Celeste Rivas? So let's start with Celeste Rivas was a 15-year-old girl from Lake Elsinore, California, a town about 70 miles outside of Los Angeles. She first went missing back in April of 2024, and actually is February when the first report was made, when she was just 13 years old. For over a year, nobody knew where she was at. Then on September 8th of 2025, police were called to a Hollywood tow yard after workers reported a foul odor coming from the trunk of an impounded Tesla. What they found inside was a decomposing body. And on September 17th, the LAPD confirmed through dental x-ray comparison that those remains belonged to Celeste. She was described as about 5'2", weighing roughly 70 pounds with wavy black hair. She was wearing a tube top, black leggings, a yellow stud earring, and a chain bracelet. She also had a small tattoo on her index finger that read, "Shh." As of now, the cause and time of her death have not been determined. This is a case that has shaken a lot of people. A young girl missing for more than a year, found this way. We're going to walk through the timeline of this case up until the current time frame. Now, as I mentioned, the investigation is into murder and that they named Burke. And who is Burke? This is David, D4VD. His real name is David Anthony Burke. He's a 20-year-old singer and songwriter originally from Queens, New York. He started building his fan base by posting music to SoundCloud and YouTube back in 2021. His breakout moment came with the song called Romantic Homicide. We will not play any of his music on this podcast, just for reference. Released in 2022. The music video has racked up nearly 180 million views on YouTube. He also went viral on TikTok with another track called Here With Me, which has over 240 million views. So this is not a small unknown artist. This is someone with a massive online following, particularly among younger listeners. At the time the body was discovered, David was actively on tour across the United States and the United Kingdom and Europe. He has since canceled at least one show. And remember, we're walking through the timeline. Police say he is cooperating with the investigation, but as of the reporting date, no arrests had been made and no cause of death had been classified by the coroner. The LAPD was clear. At that point, there's no suspect. But the fact that a missing teenager's remains were found in his car, that's the question everyone is asking.
None I can think of at the moment. Yeah.
All right, let's get into the timeline of identification here. Or hold on, skipping a little bit. The disappearance and the last confirmed sightings. So, as I spoke earlier, they indicated it was April of 2024, but actually on February 15th, 2024 was the first time that Celeste was reported missing by her family. Surveillance shows that Celeste was alive in September of 2024, and digital evidence indicates Celeste was still alive on January 2nd of 2025. So there was a second missing persons report that was made in April, and she continued to appear alive months after being reported missing. So January 2nd, 2025 becomes the last confirmed alive date for her. Everything shifted in spring of 2025 when the investigators believed that Celeste's life was taken. Let's talk about the car, because the timeline here is actually one of the most striking parts of the story. The Tesla was found abandoned on a public street in Hollywood Hills, and neighbors reported it had been sitting there for more than a month. After that, it was towed to a Hollywood tow yard, where it sat for another 2 days before anyone called police. Police were called to the yard on September the 8th after reports of a foul odor coming from the vehicle. So just to paint that picture, if neighbors are right, this car may have been sitting on a public street with the body inside for over a month before it even was towed. That's a detail that's going to matter a lot in this investigation as it moves forward.
So yeah, basically, I don't think it's weird. Did they? Because do you remember hearing also, and this is with regard to the timeline of how to like figure out when she might have passed. I'm wondering if that's the. Let's see. There's a second report that they said that where is it? I can't find it right now. Digital evidence cited by private investigator and reporters that Celeste was still alive, okay, as of January 2nd, 2025. What about, did you guys remember hearing about the people who said that they were texting her? Now, I don't know if that came out as being legitimate, but it was friends. Remember that part?
Yes, I do recall that.
I just don't remember.
So what I remember is I don't know if y'all remember this, and I was trying to find it, but I cannot find it. One of his shows when he was on tour, she was backstage.
I don't remember that. Yeah, I don't remember that. That's interesting. And who confirmed that?
Another thing that is very suspicious to me is the fact that the car was in the impound for 3 days and they can smell that smell. But if the car was sitting on their street for what, a month? Why y'all didn't smell that smell?
Okay, so here's the other interesting thing that I was unaware of initially. It seems as if the car had been parked by Celeste's house, and it like at first. So, and I think this was during the time, if I remember correctly, this is during the time that she was allegedly still alive, possibly. So initially, the car was being parked around Celeste's neighborhood, and then it was moved. Was it
Well, Mel, remember they said that she was driving that car.
Yeah, this is a weird one. So, and she happened, okay, you know what? I might be thinking of like good thing. I do remember them saying she visited her parents later in the time. Allegedly, she was around her parents at some point later than I would have expected. Like possibly within like 2025, maybe the end of 2024.
So just to speak on what Simply put up about the being at the concert, I did find where it indicated that there's footage that circulated online showing a girl believed to be 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez backstage with the brother of singer David Anthony Burt, after a concert on June 27, 2024. The video, which was reportedly posted on TikTok and later was removed, is part of a series of evidence investigated after Rivers' body was discovered in that Tesla registered to David in September 2025. So it says the backstage sighting. The video shows a girl in Hello Kitty Crocs, which fans pointed out were the same shoes Rivas was wearing when she was reported missing in April of 2024. The brother's involvement, the girl is seen with David's brother and manager, according to the social media reports and news updates. Now, it gives a prior connection. A CNN investigation found that Rivas appeared in David's orbit multiple times before her death, including appearing with him in a Twitch live stream in January 2024 when she was 13. And is this what you were speaking of, Simply?
Yeah. Yep. That's it.
Now, identifying the body wasn't immediate, it says, and that's important context. When the body was found on September 8th, 2025, officials noted it was decomposed and believed the teen had been dead for some time, which we know if the car had been sitting out there for at least a month before it got towed, that is some good time, right? They couldn't immediately confirm her age or her tongue-tied ethnicity. It wasn't until September 17th that the medical examiner's office made the official identification, confirming the remains belonged to 15-year-old Celeste Rivas. who had gone missing from Lake Elsinore, California back in February 2024 when she was 13 years old. That's a gap over 9 days between finding the body and putting a name to it. And one key detail that helped crack it, Celeste's mother told TMZ that her daughter had a boyfriend named David. That connection, combined with the tattoo and the dental records, is what brought everything together. Any thoughts on that?
Oh, okay. So now it's kind of confusing that the mom knows that she has a boyfriend named David, but she was also reported missing. But then, they also say that the parents also knew how old he was originally and they were being paid to keep quiet.
Yeah, I thought we knew. I always thought that was different, especially in this day and age. That the parents allowed that relationship. And if I remember correctly, so you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was like 17 when they started dating. It was like, come on, right? I still feel like this is insanity. Like, why would they allow this? Or maybe she did, maybe they're friends, maybe they scream. I have no idea. But at a certain point, they knew that they were dating. Not to say that it's just an interesting part of it. And even though she was, there was the missing persons file, she did come and see them, and perhaps that's why close to her house. So close to her house. I'm still trying to understand the whole thing with the Tesla being by her house, and something happened between the last time she saw them. But why would
I have an article here that might help us tie this together. But go ahead, whoever wanted to make a statement.
No, let's go with the article.
Okay. So this is from the local news, KTLA 5, Weekend Morning News here. It says dismembered teen girl 15 met David on social media, alleged former teacher says. A former teacher at Lakeland Village School in Lake Elsinore, who claims Celeste Rivas Hernandez, whose dismembered remains were found in the trunk of a Tesla, registered to an R&B artist earlier this month, met the popular musician on social media, TMZ reported. Now, this article is from September 18th of 2025. According to the science teacher who spoke with the outlet, Rivas had run away in early 2024, a detail earlier confirmed by the Riverside County Sheriff's Department. In that instance, the teacher said she made her way to Hollywood after meeting David Anthony Burke, a performer with millions of fans and followers who performs under the name David, who she met on social media. Police were able to track her down that time and return the 13-year-old girl back to her mother in Lake Elsinore, the teacher claimed. So she's ran away. She was reported missing. I'm assuming this is in February 2024 because remember, it stated there's been two missing persons report placed on her, one in February and one in April. So they brought her back. In a video obtained by TMZ, the teacher, now at a different Southern California school, can be seen and hearing sharing many of these details with his current students, even showing them a picture of himself and Rivas in front of a poster that he still has in his classroom and saying she'd been missing since I taught her. Rivas was again reported missing in April 2024, and that was the last he'd heard of her until Wednesday when the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner identified the 15-year-old's remains. On September 8th, the teen's remains, described by authorities as head and torso, were found inside a bag in the trunk of a Tesla impounded at Hollywood Tow. The vehicle had been at the tow yard for about 5 days after it was reported abandoned in the Hollywood Hills. Officers with the Los Angeles Police Department responded to the lot around 12:30 p.m. only after an employee reported a foul stench coming from the vehicle, which had been parked on the roof of the yard's parking structure. The medical examiner's report noted that the teen's body was severely decomposed and at the time only described the remains as approximately 5 foot 2 inches tall and weighing around 71 pounds with dark wavy hair. The 15-year-old was wearing a tube top and had a distinct tattoo on her right index finger with the letter SHHH. LAPD said the car, which had Texas plates, was registered to David, who is currently on tour. And remember, this article is from September 2024, I said, right? 25. Now, it reads on to say, while homicide detectives have been tight-lipped about the investigation, many observers have pointed to other alleged ties between David and Rivas beyond just the Tesla's registration. Along with the song entitled Romantic Homicide, TMZ reported that in a leaked song, the artist is heard singing about a person named Celeste, with lyrics that include, "Oh, Celeste, the girl with my name tattooed on her chest. I hear her voice each time I take a breath. I'm obsessed." Leaked in December 2023, the track was reportedly titled Celeste _ demo unfin. Do we want to talk about what we just read right here before I move on? There's some more to the article.
You can go ahead and continue the article. We can discuss after.
Yeah, it's just a short piece left. It's just a short piece left. According to Rivas' mother, who spoke to TMZ, the 15-year-old had a boyfriend named David before she went missing, with the outlet adding that a photo of the musician surfaced online Wednesday showing him with the girl in Lake Elsinore, not far from the home the teen shared with her family. David also reportedly has a tattoo on his right index finger with the words SHHH or shh, similar to the one Rivas has. My apologies on this reading. Initial reports suggested the musician was cooperating with investigators, but on Thursday, a spokesperson for LAPD told KTLA, "We do not have that information." Police did say, however, that a search warrant was executed Wednesday in the 1300 block of Dahoney Place, the Hollywood Hills home where David had been living, according to TMZ's reporting. That's the end of that article. So if we want to backtrack into the article and break up the questions that we were just having. So she was reported missing initially in February of 2024. If we believe everything that the teacher is saying in this, but we also have to take it as hearsay because it's not official at this time, that she went missing. He was sure of her being missing. And then he went from one school to another school, which is a little odd to me that he had pictures and was showing it to his new class. But then she went missing again in April. Backtrack. February, she went missing. The police located her. It doesn't say where they located her at, though. And then returned her back. And then April, she went missing again. And then the teacher indicates that he didn't hear anything else until he saw on the news that they identified that body as being hers.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. But we knew all this information. Maybe it was for awareness. We discussed that, but I'm just not sure what to think about it. All this stuff, I think it's just maybe it's just incomplete. I'm still pondering like of this timeline, and it was such a horrific way to From my my understanding, they still don't even have released the cause of death. Um, and we don't know anything. We don't.
At this point in the timeline, they have not given cause of death. The autopsy is very secretive and they're not releasing much information. But it said on September 8th, per this article, that authorities did describe the remains that were found in the trunk as a head and torso.
Yes, that is how it. Okay. Yes, and we know that they added to that at this point, right? But yeah, so the point is, we still aren't sure
Where and how?
she was found in the trunk, and obviously
This was a form of disposal of the body.
but we don't know where it happened, how.
Or how it happened, what the cause was.
That is correct. So what we do know is she has some type of connection with him by meeting him through social media. She ran away from home in February of 2024. She was found and brought back. Just what, a couple months later, she ran away again in April. Now, her mother reported her both times running away. April, when she ran away, she was not found again, but it did indicate that there was surveillance that showed she was alive in September of 2024. And then there's digital evidence. It's not saying exactly what the digital evidence is at this moment that indicates Celeste was still alive in January 2nd of 2025. So this is where the investigators say they believe that the turn was made in spring of 2025 where her life was taken.
Yeah. And based on that idea, okay, well, September, they're saying, so the interesting thing too, if I remember correctly, they're saying based on the timeline and possibly when she passed. I do remember that they said when they found her remains, that they had at least, and I wonder if that was accurate. See, this is the hard thing because we are keeping certain aspects of the case private. There's still, I guess. But they said it was a couple of weeks. Like the body he passed away within a couple of weeks. I'm wondering how accurate that was. Because when was it?
So the body was discovered September the 8th. It wasn't until September 17th that they were able to identify it.
Also, remember they said that originally they said the body was slightly frozen. Or had looked like it was frozen and then thawed out.
I don't remember that. Okay. Let's see. I'm looking at questions I'm having in my head.
But what I can say that is not in my notes, but I do, going off of what Simply just said, I know that when they did locate it, there was the foul odor emanating from the Tesla, and the remains were found in a black bag. Um, but it says that the body was at least partially dismembered, but not decapitated.
This is so sad.
Every time I think about it.
Okay, so I did find So yes, I thought I had heard this. So friends who talked publicly about texting with Celeste have generally said that she stopped responding to them in mid-August 2025. Okay, so I feel like that would fit the timeline of them saying
it was a couple weeks from, okay,
it
it kind of makes sense. So
it happened, assuming that they're taking this into consideration.
I do feel like there's a lot of things, for whatever reason, that they are not
disclosing to
disclosing to
the
the public
public
in terms of
evidence
that
that
they have. Like,
I remember seeing this, the friends talking about texting her, and I remember it was very close to the time that they found the body.
And so,
most of this comes from
comes from a widely shared internet detective video that cites a friend saying that Celeste was in contact the whole time, but that she randomly stopped texting around mid-August. People then speculated that something lined up with the time of her death. Screenshots circulated on Reddit and were posted on Facebook, allegedly from a friend of Celeste, which similarly claimed that friends lost contact with her in mid-August.
These are not sworn law enforcement
timelines, but they're the clearest public statements from friends about her response stopped mid-August 2025, a few weeks before her body was found in the Tesla in September.
Yeah, it was going to go into this.
Let me look it up. I know I found it somewhere.
So yeah, so I'm thinking, I'm surprised they haven't taken that into consideration. And now I'm wondering, is there a reason? Is there a reason they're not
taking that information into consideration?
Well, let's remember we're going down the timeline. So we're still at the beginning of her being found. We don't know what yet is to come later on. So let's see. And we're going to be ending this part here in just one moment. So the cause of death, what remains unknown. Here's where we hit a wall, and it's an important one. The cause of death has officially been listed as deferred. That means the medical examiner hasn't been able to determine how she died, likely because of the state of decomposition. There is no crime classification yet, no manner of death, no suspect name. David's representatives say he is fully cooperating with authorities and he was actively on tour when the body was discovered. What we don't know, when exactly she died, how she ended up in that front, and how long she was there. The window between her disappearance, February 2024, and the discovery, September 2025, is over a year. That's a long time with a lot of unanswered questions. Let's shift forward in the timeline. All right, moving forward here, let's talk about the estimated timeline of death and the Tesla activity. So, prosecution's working theories places Celeste's death in spring of 2025. Tesla seen parked in different spots in Celeste's neighborhood from May 2025. Left on Bluebird Avenue around July 29, accumulating dirt. And that abandoned Tesla becomes the center of everything that happens next. So we have a likely death window we could talk about. This is the piece investigators have worked hardest to nail down. and is still not fully locked in, but sources have narrowed it significantly. Law enforcement sources told NBC4 Investigates that they believe Celeste Rivas Hernandez died in the spring of 2025. Now hold that against what we know. She was last seen in April 2024. Her brother told NBC4 that Celeste was last seen going to a movie with David and she never came home. So the window between that confirmed sighting and estimated death is roughly a year. If the spring 2025 estimate is right, that means she may have been alive somewhere for nearly a full year after she disappeared. The court documents note that Celeste's body was discovered the day after her 15th birthday. But that's so sad. But state she was killed when she was 14. So she was found the day after her 15th birthday, but her life was taken at 14. The state of decomposition was severe enough that it took the medical examiner over a week just to identify her. The official cause of death remains sealed. A judge granted a request to seal the medical examiner's findings after prosecutors argued releasing them could jeopardize the investigation. So right now, we know roughly when, spring 2025. We don't know yet officially how. Let's talk about it now with some more added pieces to it.
It's just sad. This is all bad, all sad. Like, that's from being right before her birthday, the day after her birthday being found. That's something new that I just found out. It's crazy.
I remember hearing that as soon as it happened. And I just thought, 14. So I feel like there's a lot of remain about let's see. Let's go over this new information. So basically, we know that she lived alive, I would say more than a year after the
initial missing persons report was filed.
And yeah, they're saying spring 2025. Seems about right. I guess I'm just trying to process what could have happened. What could have been the thing that caused her death? Was it premeditated? These are the questions I've had since I first heard about this case. It's bad. But yes, let's see. Do you have any questions in the chat? Ask them if you don't want to come on stage. If you're on YouTube, feel free to ask questions, comments. Yeah. So, I mean, this one, there's a lot of information, but there's still a lot of questions. So many questions. There's so many gaps And I feel like this is why I'm a bit at a loss. All right, so let's see. So the discovery of the body. Let's go over some. Let's see. Yard workers, odor. Let's see.
So, Mel, I do have a little recording here from News Nation and TMZ regarding the what we see in our chat. So there was a comment in our chat that says on Clubhouse, not YouTube, they were saying that the parents was being paid. But after researching into that, there is some talk about it through News Nation and TMZ. If we'd like to hear that.
Let's go.
Can you mute for me, Mel? Okay. All right. So there we are. And this is from News Nations and TMZ. And so there are a lot of different articles and videos out here of different things. So we have to try to go off of the facts that we can find. I'm going to say if the mother reported her missing in February and in April, she may not have been a part of that. But you never know in this world that we're in. Any other thoughts in the likely death window before we move on to our next part of the timeline?
Did we go over the reconstruction of the Tesla's movements? Let's see, the cars from Alabama. So I did think that's the part that where I was saying. Let me look. The cars movement. So apparently it was in her neighborhood for months, and then I think it was May. So May 2025 onward, the Tesla is seen parked in different spots in Celeste's neighborhood. On or about July 29, the Tesla is left on Bluebird Avenue in Hollywood. So that was the final abandonment point for the Tesla. So I feel like, I mean, we've probably gone all over this already. There's a bit of an echo. Not sure why.
So in our chat here in Clubhouse, it indicates that the brother said that they paid them gifts in cash like $25K. Do we have anything to solidify that? A video or statement, something from the brother that where he stated this?
Let me look at fine because it was like a whole bunch of text messages. There was released, and it was the brother talking to his friend about explaining what's going on. And he was saying like parents taking bribes and stuff. They kind of knew what was going on. So I had seen it on Facebook. Let me look.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So while we're waiting on you to locate that information, I do have another article from People. And the title is Grisly Details Revealed on How Celeste Rivas Hernandez's Remains Were Found as David is Target of Probe. It says Celeste Rivas Hernandez's remains were discovered on September 8th in the front trunk of a Tesla registered to David. And of course, we know that there's going to be some repetitive information that we're going to be seeing in this case. But remember, we're walking through the timeline. The need to know. Celeste Rivas Hernandez's remains were discovered on September 8th in the front trunk of a Tesla registered to David. The manager of a Hollywood tow company contacted the LAPD about a strange smell of decay coming from the vehicle, which was attracting flies, per a Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office petition. David has been the target of a grand jury investigation in connection with the death of the teen. Grisly details have been revealed in the death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, whose remains were found in the front trunk of a Tesla registered to David. The teen's remains were discovered on September 8, 2025, after a black Tesla Model X was impounded in the Hollywood Hills. According to a petition for attendance of an out-of-state witness filed by the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office, she had been dismembered, with her head and torso separated from her arms and legs. Her remains were found in 2 separate bags. David, born David Anthony Burke, has been the target of a grand jury investigation in connection with the death of the teen. And this article, just so we know here, was from February 25th of 2026, this year. Okay. Start back here. David, born David Anthony Burke, has been the target of a grand jury investigation in connection with the death of the teen. In November, the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office began presenting evidence to the grand jury at Los Angeles Superior Court, the Los Angeles Times reported. In the petition, prosecutors allege David may be involved in the death of the 14-year-old victim, Celeste Rivas Hernandez, who may have been a victim of foul play. The teen's death came to light on September 8th after the manager of a Hollywood tow company that works with the LAPD contacted them about a strong smell of decay coming from the vehicle, which was attracting flies. The Tesla had been impounded 3 days earlier. In the article that I'm looking at, and if you're on YouTube, I'm going to be showing what I'm looking at as well here. You can see the black Tesla with the front open, and it looks beat up. It looks like it doesn't look like it's in good condition to me as far as the paint and the body of it. But it goes on to say that LAPD detectives responded to the Hollywood tow yard to investigate per the petition. Detectives approached the vehicle, which was parked in a lot on the upper deck of the impound, and immediately noticed the smell of decaying biological material consistent with a decomposing corpse coming from the front storage compartment of the vehicle. Investigators obtained a search warrant and observed a black cadaver bag covered with insects and a strong odor of decay when they opened the front trunk, according to the petition. Utilizing black latex gloves, detectives partially unzipped the bag and observed a decomposed head and torso, the petition states. Officers notified investigators and criminalists from the Los Angeles County Department of Medical Examiner about the death. Upon removing the cadaver bag from the front storage compartment, it was discovered the arms and legs had been severed from the body. A second black bag was discovered underneath the cadaver bag. Upon opening the second bag, the dismembered body parts were discovered. The Tesla was first reported abandoned on Bluebird Street in Hollywood on August 26th. According to the petition, David was touring at the time the Tesla was impounded.
Okay, so at the time when I started following the case, I don't know if you're done or not. I just know the mic unmuted, but when I Hey Lannie, I put that post on I saying I was referring to the text message that your brother was saying. We just had a conversation with Bree about the situation. If you could please come in and chat with me, thank you.
Can someone pull that article up so that we can read it, please?
You want me to read it?
Yes, please. And then we'll take Harriet's question that she has. We apologize. This is a closed stage podcast for recording purposes, Harriet.
So it's text messages, and it starts out, why does David follow you? All respect to your sister, and I hate how shitty people are being. Was it really him, Jesus? All love, man. Yes. Oh, hold on, I gotta turn the music off today. Post. Yes, it was him because he found my account out of nowhere and followed me. Fuck. Excuse my language. Well, he has it coming. That's wild, just random. Did you even ever talk to him? I met him once in person. Did you and your family know your sister was being with him? Like she was living with him? All of that shit is so confusing and disgusting. I knew and went to the police about it, but lack of evidence, so it was waived off. Bullshit. Now that there's 1,000 people backing you up, that won't happen again. But if they hadn't listened, I don't know. Damn. Was your sister like in love with him and chose to stay? I guess it was all him just manipulating her. Yeah, she was always saying that he was waiting until she was 18 to marry her and stuff like that. And then he says, fucking sick. What's crazy is all of those people in his circle who knew and didn't say shit. I saw one guy did get sued by him. I'm sure you would have too if you kept pursuing. And that was the last message. And it didn't say who he was speaking to, but it was just a brother having a communication with somebody.
Okay, I was going to ask that. Is it confirmed who is this in this discussion going back and forth? So at this time, unfortunately, we have to say that it is still unconfirmed that this was her stating this with the brother. But we know that these are messages that the brother provided or that's coming from him in a personal chat, correct?
It's actual text messages, yeah.
Or text messages. Okay, got it. So I want to go back here and recap based off of the questions that we have here in the chat. So our first question is, was it confirmed that the body parts were dismembered? So yes, they did confirm that her arms and legs were severed from the torso. Now, as far as us being able to confirm whether the body was frozen, we have not found that information yet to say that it is actual. Right at this moment, it is hearsay.
It also seems that the LAPD captain, didn't he say that it was not frozen? But I mean, I don't know if that's considered.
Yeah, I saw the article saying that now.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have the article? We want to make sure that everything that was. Mm-hmm. Because this is an open case. Because this is an open case, we want to make sure that everything we indicate on here is either labeled as hearsay or as actual facts that's come from officials from either the court, law enforcement, or something of that nature. So that way we don't have any kind of implications of passing on misinformation. But yes, Mel, if you can go ahead and read that, please.
Okay. The one I pulled up is from, let's see, it says people.
It's the same one I got.
Okay, good. I haven't looked at yours, but yeah. And so it's November 24th, 2025. LAPD captain reveals what cops saw when Celeste Rivas Hernandez was found dead in David's trunk, and she wasn't frozen. Okay, so maybe trigger warning. I have not read through it, but if you haven't looked into all the details, be prepared. So Celeste Rivas Hernandez was 14 when she died and was subsequently discovered dead inside the trunk of a Tesla belonging to musician David in September. Now, the Los Angeles Police Department captain is debunking rumors surrounding her remains. LAPD captain and officer of robbery homicide division Scott Williams tells people exclusively that Rivas Hernandez was not frozen and was not decapitated as previously reported by local media. Celeste's body was not frozen, Williams said. She was not decapitated. The whole frozen thing doesn't even make sense. Her body was in the car for weeks. Williams continues, even if she had been frozen solid when she was put in the car, which there is no evidence to suggest she was. 5 more weeks in the trunk of the car in sweltering heat in the middle of summer would not have resulted in a partially frozen body being discovered on September 8th. Rivas Hernandez was first reported missing from her Lake Elsinore, California home in April 2024. The Riverside County Sheriff's Office told the Los Angeles Times. Okay, so I don't know. Let's see. I don't know if you want me to continue. We were kind of just trying to touch on the frozen part, but I mean, I can read the whole article if you would like. Do you guys want to hear the rest of it? Because it's going to go into some of which we've already gone over.
In this case, it will be some repetitive information, and this is okay because we are trying to walk down a timeline and make sure that we don't miss anything. So yes, please read the remainder of the article.
Okay, her body was found in the, let's see. Okay, yeah. Her body was found in the impounded Tesla in the Hollywood Hills on September 8th. One day after her 15th birthday, while David, whose real name was David Anthony Burke, was on tour. Singer David was identified as a suspect in her death last week. A police source confirmed to people at the time. According to the police source, the singer has allegedly not been cooperative with the ongoing investigation. The police source added that no criminal charges have been filed. LAPD, David's lawyer, and a rep for the singer didn't immediately respond when previously contacted by people. The singer's representative previously told NBC Los Angeles that his client was fully cooperating with authorities. In September, investigators with the LAPD served a search warrant in connection with Rivas Hernandez's death at a home in Hollywood Hills, where the singer was staying. Law enforcement sources previously told people the team's cause and manner of death remain clear. Okay, let's see. On Monday, November 24th, the County of Los Angeles Department of Medical Examiners announced that they received a court order initiated by the LAPD to place a security hold on Rivas Hernandez's case. The medical examiner said in a statement to people, no records or details associated with the case, including the cause and manner of death, and the medical examiner report can be released or posted on the website until further notice. The medical examiner said the department understands the public's interest in the case and remains committed to transparency when possible. Information will be made available once the court order is lifted. All right, so basically, it seems as if they're saying that, and I feel like at this point we know if you've been following, but yes, the body was not frozen, and she was not decapitated.
Thank you for clarifying that for us. Okay, let's go ahead and shift forward in the timeline. So we talked about discovery of the body in a Tesla. The two tow yard workers noticed the foul odor and flies, two cadaver-style bags, one with head and torso, the other with arms and legs. Remains identified as Celeste on September 17, 2025. Once Celeste was identified, the investigation escalated and quickly. Now let's map the car because the Tesla's movements are central to the case. The vehicle was abandoned near a home in the 1300 block of Doheny Place, a street in Hollywood Hills, not far from where David was living at the time. The Department of Transportation marked the vehicle and issued a citation before impounding it. September 5th, 2025 is when the Tesla was towed to the impound yard. 3 days later, on September 8th, police were called to the yard after reports of the foul odor, found the remains, and opened a homicide investigation. Then on September 17th, detectives with the LAPD's Robbery Homicide Division served a search warrant on David's $20,000 a month rental home, the same home located near where the Tesla had been parked. Several bags of evidence were seized. And here's the kicker. On September 24th, the same day Celeste's body was released back to her family, movers were seen hauling boxes from the home into a moving truck. The homeowner confirmed that David's manager had told him they'd be breaking the lease and moving out by end of the week. So the home near the abandoned car was vacated on the same day the family got her back. Ooh. Make what you will make out of this right here. That's an interesting thing right there to me. The same day that her body is released, he decides to go ahead and break that lease.
Did you say the manager said that they would break the lease or the homeowner wanted to break the lease?
So let me back up to where it's at here. The homeowner confirmed that David's manager had told him they'd be breaking the lease and moving out by the end of the week.
Suspicious.
Now, this was a rental home that he was renting at $20,000 a month. And it's also the same home where the Tesla had been parked or located near. They said that several bags of evidence were seized. And then on September 24th, the same day that Celeste's body was released back to her family, movers were seen hauling boxes from that home into a moving truck. So I have an article from February 25th, 2026 from Fox 11 Los Angeles. Celeste Rivas case, David named grand jury target as new court docs reveal dismemberment details. So this is the brief. Newly unsealed court documents reveal grisly details regarding the death of 15-year-old Celeste, whose dismembered remains were found in the Tesla. And we already know those details, so I'm not going to reread those. He was then officially named as a target of grand jury investigation, while his family and associates face subpoenas and potential arrest for noncompliance. The court documents, which were unsealed via motion by a Texas court, state David may be involved in the death of a 15-year-old victim, identified as Rivas Hernandez, who was reported missing from Lake Elsinore in 2024. Her body was discovered on September 8th. The car had been towed to the police lot. This is the police lot after being abandoned near Hollywood Hills home. Workers at the impound lot had called the police because of the foul odor. The filings, which state Rivas Hernandez may have been the victim of foul play, also reveal disturbing new details of how authorities discovered her heavily decomposed remains, it states. Give me a second. I'm skimming through this because I don't want to centralize people with the same details that are triggering. But it does indicate that her body was severely decomposed, which is why the strong smell of decay was attracting flies to the car. Now, my thoughts is that her body was decomposed before it made it to the tow lot. Because if we go back to that timeline, it definitely was sitting on the side of the street for over a month before someone reported it to be towed. So the Department of Transportation marked the vehicle and issued a citation before impounding it, the filing stated. So they went out and and if you know what the citation that they put on there, you might see those when you're driving down the highway and you see cars on the side of the highway and they have those yellow or red tickets that you see on it, which is basically Department of Transportation marking it before they come and tow it. All right. It says David was on tour at the time the car was impounded, but it doesn't indicate that he was on tour prior to that. A grand jury in Los Angeles has officially labeled him as a target of the investigation. but that is all they're labeling him as, just a target. Any thoughts on that? They're still stating that the timeline is unclear as well on when she actually was killed.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's the whole reason that this one is hard to even. The timeline is just weird. We don't know. We don't know.
So, a question from the chat here on Clubhouse is, did they do toxicology? So,
we wouldn't know. Yeah.
we do not know at this time. It has not indicated, because at this time in the timeline, they have the record still sealed. Well, they unsealed it, but they unsealed it just to give us that little bit of information that I read right there. It hasn't given any further details in it.
Yeah, the article I read prior, apparently they just they're not allowing them. They closed, like they made sure that the coroner's office can't release anything at this point for whatever reason. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to act like I have an understanding with regard to cases like this. If this is something that's normally done, just interesting that they're that they close things off like that. But yeah. So, let me see.
So, what we also know is that there were some subpoenas served on the parents of David, who've been pulled into the Los Angeles County grand jury investigation as well. They're not happy about that, from my understanding.
Okay, so I don't know if we were we aware that he also let's see. He also put his Texas home in his parents' name. There were a couple of things he did. Were you aware of that?
I was not aware of that piece. Do we have something that gives us more clarification on that?
Trying not to go too far into in order to make sure we didn't have that mix somewhere. Give me one second. Yes, there was. Let's see. Let me go back. Talk amongst yourselves. I will look for my little evidence here. But yeah, basically, it wasn't only that he moved. He also apparently started taking things out of his name. Oh no.
So, what's the timeline of him starting to do those? So, we know that they moved things from the actual rental place and told that the homeowner that they were no longer going to be leasing it. And so now you're saying that he was moving other things as far as assets or properties out of his name as well?
Yes. I'm just trying to figure out the timeline, and I'll have to go back and look for where he. Yeah. So around this time, okay, so during the time he confirms, okay, so yeah, Burke quietly moved out of Los Angeles and transferring ownership of 2 Texas properties to his new mother. And then he retained the high-profile criminal defense attorney, Burke. So let me open the article. Do you want me to read it? Let's see. This is November 18th, 2025. Eyewitness News, Channel 7. Okay, here we go. So the singer David is considered, okay, I'm going to try and not, go over the same things that we know in see. Singer David is considered a suspect in the death investigation of 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Okay, we know that. Sources tell ABC News investigators that have been in contact with multiple people they believe were involved in the case in some capacity. And those investigators tell ABC News they are certain they are going down the right path for a suspect. So all of this, basically, I guess it's around, they started asking his family and friends to come in for interviews. And I'm guessing this is around the time that he decided to do this. So let me skip the part and just kind of scrolling through because a lot of this we know. The vehicle was his. Okay, so here we go. David made some changes to the ownership of one of his Texas homes last month. Eyewitness learned. Records show he transferred his cycle home located in the Houston area to his mother's name on September 23rd. Officials say deputies were called to the Houston area home where David's parents lived on September 17th, but that turned out to be a fake squatting call. In mid-September, detectives executed the search warrant at a Hollywood home where David was staying. Investigators were seeking evidence, including a computer from the home. According to the LA Times, we know this is so it's all around the same time. The lease home had been broken early, so that's the Hollywood Hills home. Okay. So it's around the same time. So yeah. He started transferring assets. And so when I was reading about that, that's why it came to mind. Because, based on him moving, leaving Los Angeles, breaking that lease, transferring assets, the consensus was that he was getting ready to go. I mean, look, we're not saying anybody's guilty. We're not claiming guilty or innocence, but it is a little bit strange that he did that. So I just thought I'd throw that piece in.
It does make you question why would he just start to make those changes at that point in time. But as we know, it could very well be that he might have already had that plan to do, and he just decided to do it. So thank you for that piece of information, ML. Did we have any more thoughts or questions or statements in regards to this portion of the timeline? Just for our audience here in Clubhouse, I did find some information regarding the toxicology. We are going to move into that when we get into our next talking point, which is the autopsy sealed and grand jury launches. So if nothing else at this moment, we're going to go ahead and shift forward in the timeline. All right. So we want to look into the secrecy and the legal escalation. The document evidence shows the judge seals the autopsy. Cause and manner of death was not disclosed. Grand jury begins hearing evidence in late November 2025. The prosecutors present iCloud data, surveillance, and witness testimony. And then in early 2026, the biggest development so far becomes public. Let's start with the thing prosecutors don't want you to know, which is ironically the thing that tells us the most. The autopsy is sealed, and that didn't happen quietly or easily. So, on September 15th, the LAPD first requested hold on the medical examiner's file. That request was denied because the judge found it didn't have sufficient jurisdiction. NBC Los Angeles indicated that that's significant. They tried, got turned down, went back and built a stronger case. Then on November 21st, LAPD Joshua Byers of the Robbery Homicide Division petitioned again, and this time Judge Craig Richmond granted it, sealing the medical examiner's entire case file, including cause and manner of death. Byers argued in his sealed declaration that releasing autopsy details could expose witness identities, informant information, and investigative strategies, potentially putting lives at risk. The judge agreed, but here's where it gets unusual. Veteran criminal defense attorney Mark Geroges called this case the most tight-lipped the LAPD has been in recent memory, saying the department and the medical examiner's office are at complete loggerheads and that the tension. Mel, I can't see where you pointing in a thing while I'm reading. I apologize here. I lost place here. So Mark Geroges called this case the most tight-lipped the LAPD has been in recent memory, saying the department and the medical examiner's office are at complete loggerheads and that tension, he says, is driving everything. Court TV indicated the Emmy's office publicly and on the record said security holds like this are rare and not proven to improve outcomes. They're pushing back. They just can't legally override it. Then 3 days after the seal was granted on November 24th, LAPD Deputy Chief Alan Hamilton publicly used the word murder for the first time, calling it an investigation into murder and saying accountability is coming and that no one is off the table, including Burt. So they sealed what they know, then stepped in front of cameras and say his name. That's not a coincidence. That's a message. All right, let's backtrack into this. That was a little bit that I read. The timeline is on September 15th, LAPD first requested a hold on the medical examiner's file. They argued and in his sealed declaration that releasing the autopsy details could expose witness identities, informant information, and investigative strategies. I want to stop and talk about that real quick. Now, this sounds like some people feel like their life is in danger if they provided information, right? I wonder who the witnesses are. Any thoughts from my host?
I have no idea who these witnesses could be. I do know that there are witnesses who are dodging, or not witnesses, I shouldn't even call them witnesses. There are people who are dodging, like, you know, being called to speak for some reason. Yeah, that's kind of like, I mean, but it's a theory that perhaps that's what it is, right? These witnesses, but maybe I'm just really unsure. It's interesting that they would do it off like that. I'm not sure what to think about it. What about you? Miss Red?
All right. Well, what I do have is a statement on medical examiner case number 2025-14252 that was released on November 24th, 2025. It says at 10:54 a.m. on Friday, November 21st, the County of Los Angeles Department of Medical Examiner received a court order initiated by the Los Angeles Police Department to place a security hold on medical examiner case number 2025-14252, Celeste Rivas Hernandez. No records or details associated with the case, including the cause and manner of death and medical examiner report, can be released or posted on the website until further notice. Now, this is coming directly from the County of Los Angeles Medical Examiner site, which is lacounty.gov. The department's mission is to have full transparency with the community by providing information about our cases to empower people to make changes that save lives, said Chief Medical Examiner Dr. Odi Ukpo, UKPO. Since becoming the department head, I've worked on eradicating the practice of placing security holds on medical examiner cases simply by law enforcement requests. The practice of security holds is virtually unheard of in other counties and has not been proven to improve outcomes in the legal system. We are dedicated to serving our community with full transparency. However, the law precludes us from doing so while the court order remains in this case. The department previously received a request for a security hold from the LAPD on this case on September 15, 2025, which was denied due to insufficient justification to warrant the hold. The department understands the public's interest in this case and remains committed to transparency when possible. Information will be made available once the court order is lifted. For questions about the court order, timeline, and the law enforcement investigation into this death, please contact the LAPD. So we know that this was something that LAPD really pushed. They must have thought that by releasing any information, this was going to, I guess, be negative on their part of the case, or maybe prevent them from being able to move forward with pressing charges. At this point, he's still a target or person of interest and not actually charged.
So what do we think that means? If he's a person of interest and not being charged, the body was found in his car. Do we think that? I mean, well, I want other people's thoughts. What do you think it means?
Probably means they're trying to rule out any other possible suspects, but he's probably their main suspect. They just ain't said it like that. Because you gotta rule him out, because they haven't said anything about him having an alibi, or did I miss that part?
I mean, I'm wondering if this one is a hard one,
because I'm wondering if
if they know who dropped the car off to the, or they got impound, like, do they know who dropped the car off to the residence where it was found at, or anything like that? Like, do they know who had the car since he was on tour? Like, who had possession of the car?
So what I heard was, I'm not confirming. I know that he did end up getting arrested because he was not for failure to report, but they said his friend Neo was the one who originally parked the car there. But I'm not 100% sure that is, so that's just alleged right now. But he definitely got arrested for failure to report to testify about the case.
Yes.
That part.
So I honestly, this is a hard one because I feel that there's a lot more people involved, and it just makes me wonder if he knows what happened, but might not have been the person who actually committed the crime. I don't know where I'm going with this. This is all speculation. I have no idea. I know that most of society at this point who are looking at this case assumes that he was the one who did it. I have questions, but this is based on just logic, right? Not everything's logical in terms of like if you were gonna if this was gonna happen, like who would be, you know what? Like I said, I have questions in terms of like who would do that? Who would leave a car that is registered to yourself sitting on the street with a body in it? It just doesn't make sense to me. Once again, doing something like that doesn't make sense. Though maybe it's just hard for me to put myself in. This horrific crime doesn't make any sense to me. So yeah. Other people's thoughts. Go ahead.
Let's walk down some more talking points then. We might get to these here questions and have some answers. We have 2 more before the show will be complete. So, and like I said before, a lot of this is going to be a little repetitive because we're painting a picture of the timeline to get to the current day. So this is the death window again, what we know, what's confirmed, and what's still missing. This is where we pull together everything from every source we've covered because the timeline is actually more detailed than most people realize. Start with what's confirmed. Celeste was reported missing multiple times. She last contacted her family in May of 2024, but surveillance footage and digital evidence confirmed she was still alive in September 2024 and again in January 2025. That's a bombshell detail. She was seen alive nearly a year after going missing, which means wherever she was during that time, someone knew where she was. Hey, Mel, I'm having a hard time reading while you're pointing your thing in there in the middle note. All right. Law enforcement's estimated death window. An LAPD official told NBC4 investigates that investigators believe her death occurred sometime in the spring of 2025, months before her body was discovered in September. Now, cross-reference that with the Tesla we established in earlier reporting that the Tesla was parked on Bluebird Avenue in Hollywood Hills from approximately late July 2025, right around when David began his national tour, and sat there until September 3rd when it was cited for violating the 72-hour parking ordinance, and then towed 2 days later on September 5th. Police confirmed the vehicle was ticketed 11 days before the body was found, suggesting the remains were in the trunk the entire time it was sitting on that street. So here's the window the prosecution is likely working with. Celeste was alive as late as January 2025. She was dead by at latest late July 2025 when the car was parked and abandoned. Law enforcement says spring 2025 is when they believe she died. That's a window of roughly February to July 2025. And she was confirmed to be 14 years old at the time of her death. Her body was found the day after what would have been her 15th birthday. The cause of death, how she was killed, remains officially sealed, and that seal may be one of the most important pieces of evidence in the whole case. Now, prosecution theories. Okay, so here's where this case can take a massive turn because we are no longer in unclear circumstances territory. Newly unsealed court documents filed in Texas as part of a legal battle over family subpoenas confirmed that the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office has formally identified David as a target of its grand jury inquiry, describing him as someone who may be involved in having committed one count of murder. That is the language of prosecution. That is a DA's office pointing a finger, and the grand jury net has been case-wide. David's father, mother, and brother who live in Texas were summoned to testify in Los Angeles, and one of his friends, streamer Neo Langston, which is what Simply mentioned earlier, was actually arrested after failing to appear before the grand jury as a witness. Law enforcement sources also told NBC4 that they believe more than one person may have been involved in her death and the attempted disposal of her body. That phrase, attempted disposal, is doing a lot of work. This wasn't just a body left somewhere. According to the documents, Rivas' head and torso were inside a cadaver bag, and her limbs were inside a second bag in the front trunk of the car. The prosecution's theory, based on the evidence picture being assembled, appears to be David killed Celeste, dismembered her body, and placed her remains in a cadaver bag in his own Tesla, and the car sat on a public street, then in a tow yard until the smell gave away. Any questions about what I just read or statements before we move forward?
I have so many questions. Go ahead and move on.
All right, let's shift forward in the timeline. All right. We are now moving forward to the grand jury in our last piece of this segment when it comes to Celeste. Now, the grand jury in California, grand juries are rare for felony cases, just to start out with. The state usually relies on public preliminary hearings. So the fact that prosecutors went this route is itself notable.
Okay, so let's continue. Oh, let me get back.
Okay, so let's keep going. Gerardo's confirmed an active grand jury is operating on the 13th floor of the Clara Short-Range Criminal Justice Center. The floor is specifically reserved for grand jury proceedings. The grand jury began reviewing evidence in mid-November 2025, with prosecutors calling multiple witnesses. And some of those witnesses are people you've recognized from the music industry. Robert Morgan, the general manager of David's record label, Mobile Vision, testified. And according to TMZ, he revealed to the grand jury that he had learned Celeste's decomposing body had been placed in the trunk of David's Tesla. Let's see. Rolling Stone. Okay, so read that again. Read that. The head of his label apparently knew Garagos noted that the grand jury
grand
had been
jury
discussing
were
witnesses
pressing
about
witnesses
why they
about
didn't
why they
alert
didn't
police when
alert
Celeste
police
was
when Celeste
missing
was missing,
or when
or when
concerning
concerning
information
information
arose.
arose.
Subpoenas also
Subpoenas
went
also
out
went
on
out on
January
January
15th for
15th
David's
for David's
father,
father,
Dawood
Dawood
Burke,
Burke,
his
his
mother,
mother,
Colleen Burke,
Colleen
and his
Burke, and his
brother,
brother,
Colette,
Colette,
all based in
based in
Texas. The
Texas. The
family
family
appeared
appeared
in
in
Texas
Texas
court, which
court,
is
which
how
is
these
how these
documents became
documents became
public in the
public in
first
the
place,
first place,
since
since
California's
California's
filings were
filings were
sealed.
sealed.
A
A
Texas judge
Texas judge
ultimately
ultimately
ruled
ruled
they had
they
to
had
comply and
to
appear in
appear in
California to
California to
testify.
testify.
On the
On the
digital
digital
evidence
evidence
side,
side,
Garagos
Garagos
said he
said
believed
he
investigators have
investigators have
reconstructed
reconstructed
David's
David's
entire
entire
digital
digital
footprint,
footprint, phone
phone records,
records,
iCloud
iCloud
extractions,
extractions,
IP
IP
data,
data,
and
and
geolocation data
geolocation data
gathered through
gathered through
search
search
warrants and
warrants and
grand jury
grand jury
subpoenas.
subpoenas.
They
They
constructed an
constructed an
amazing
amazing
timeline,
timeline, he said.
he also
He also
separately
separately
hinted,
hinted,
without
without
going on the
going on the
record yet,
record yet,
that he
that
had a
he had a
suspicion about
suspicion
the
about the
Tesla's
Tesla's
own
own
onboard
onboard
cameras and
cameras and
data
data
logs
logs
that
that
he
he
intended to
intended to
confirm
confirm
before
before
speaking
speaking
publicly.
publicly.
Teslas,
Tesla,
as a
as a
reminder, have
reminder, have
cameras on
cameras
all
on
four
all four
sides
sides
and
and
log
log
location data
location data
continuously.
continuously.
If that
If that
car was
car was
driven
driven
anywhere with
anywhere with
Celeste
Celeste
inside it,
inside it,
prosecutors
prosecutors
may
may
already
already
know
know
exactly
exactly
where.
where.
All right.
All right.
So,
So,
any
any
thoughts
thoughts
on the
on the
current
current
information
information
that we
that we
just
just
brought
brought
forward?
forward?
To me, it sounds like they want to charge him, but they're not 100% sure they have everything that they need to, but they're going to keep him as the target until they're able to. Mm-mm-mm. Let's look at, we have a couple articles here. I'm going to go to my news, la.com. I've still, the whole word of the implicating him is what has me hung up on this, because after an entire year of this going on like it has, they still haven't fully named him as the suspect and said that he's the one that's being charged 100%. Or am I missing something?
No, you're right. That ain't sorry for nothing. He's just a person of interest. But he's the only person. Don't make sense. Well, they gotta be sure that their charges are gonna stick before they press charges on them. And so right now, it sounds like they're just still doing an investigation with her body being decomposed that long before finding her, not knowing how she was killed, where, when. There's a lot that they can't put together. It's almost like there's a detective that is pretty sure it's him, just cannot find the exact evidence to prove it. No witnesses are speaking up, if there are any. There's no video evidence of him disposing of the body or anything. So I'm sure once they find all of that, he will get charged, or who knows how it may turn out.
So it seems like this is all circumstantial then, huh?
Yes.
Mm. Mm, 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 mm. I want to go back to this part where it indicates that, and just for confirmation here, the grand jury began reviewing evidence in mid-November 2025. And now we're in March of 2026. It says, with prosecutors calling multiple witnesses. And some of those witnesses are people you'd recognize from the music industry. So who is David Morganroth? He's the general manager of David's record label, Mogul Vision. He testified, and according to TMZ, he revealed to the grand jury that he had learned Celeste's decomposing body had been placed in the trunk of David's Tesla. The head of the label apparently knew. Now, when did he learn? That's my question.
That was my question too.
I mean, when I read that,
I felt like it was a little bit confusing because
did
did
he
he
learn
learn
it?
it when we learned it?
Like, I feel like they're
We're
not
not really saying, but I mean, I guess based on the questioning that we had going on about it, he must have known prior.
This may be why they wanted the records to be sealed at first, and they did not want information to be released because it did indicate earlier, as we read, that it was for safety of witnesses, correct? So it says that the noted that the grand jurors have been pressing witnesses about why they didn't alert the police when Celeste was missing or when concerning information arose. That is a very good question. Why didn't anyone say anything? Because from the timeline, this young woman, this young girl, this little girl, she's not even a woman, she's a girl, a child, was around all these people, in the company of these people, and then all of a sudden she went missing, and now no one has any information. Now let's dig down to David's father and his mother. My question is, why would his family be involved? Were they aware that he had this relationship with Celeste?
I'm wondering if perhaps they had
concerns about the relationship, and maybe that's why.
Because why would you
want to come in for questioning unless,
you know, my thoughts go to
them feeling some kind of way about this whole relationship?
The
The best friend dodging.
I mean,
he might know a little bit more than the family in terms of why she went missing.
There's just too many questions. More questions than
answers.
More gaps.
We're speculating a lot here.
Well, I can say when it comes down to family, this is their son, so they may not want to be involved in anything that's going to be negative towards their son. So that could just be that right there. But if they were subpoenaed and they were made to come in regardless, it's because they obviously feel like they have some type of information or would help their case by some type of way. How? I don't know, and I don't want to speculate in this situation. But she was around. That's obvious. She was around. And just a moment.
Yeah,
I agree. I think that could be.
So looking at the last, go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing. I think the parents knew about this relationship, and
perhaps that's what it is. They just don't want to
cast a bad light on their son. I don't know how far it goes.
I don't know how much saying no.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to go back over how the digital evidence it says. So they, they have the entire, it says digital footprint, phone records, iCloud extractions, IP data, and geolocation data. It also indicates that with Teslas, and if you're familiar with Teslas, they have cameras on all four sides and log location data continuously, right? So if that car was driven anywhere with Celeste inside it, the prosecutors may already know exactly where. But of course, they should automatically know who put her in there from the same evidence as well. Mm, 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 mm. We started with this when the first initial discovery was made last year of her remains inside of the Tesla. And we've talked about it a few times afterwards, and we want to follow up to where they're now at the grand jury. We're going to continue to follow this case up until either they actually convict someone, or I don't want it to become what they consider as a cold case either. But it's very sad. All right. If nothing else in regards to this point right here, we're going to shift forward. We have a podcast teaser coming up, and we'll be closing our show out in just a few moments.
As the questions rise and the pressure grows, names in the spotlight, secrets no one knows. Families standing where the shadows fall, caught in the echo of the grand jury's call. But every story ends where another begins, a different truth carried on the wind. One case closing into darker skies, another waiting where the silence lies. From battles fought in the courts of night, we turn our eyes to a new lost light. Another name, another life to trace, another story waiting in a different place.
Going to be on Kyle Basinga. We turn to Fair Oaks Park in Marietta, Georgia, a place where a quiet walk on Valentine's weekend became the center of a community's grief, fear, and unanswered questions. 21-year-old Kyle Basinga was last seen walking alone into a wooded area of Fair Oaks Park. 3 days later, he was found hanging from a tree near the park entrance. Police say the evidence points to suicide. The community says the story doesn't sit right, and Kyle's family is caught in the middle, grieving, overwhelmed, and asking for space while the world demands answers. In our next episode, we break down the full timeline, the surveillance footage, the missing person report, the discovery at the park, the press conferences, and the community response. And the questions still in the air as the investigation remains open. We'll walk through what investigators have confirmed, what the family has said, and why this case has sparked such a powerful reaction online and in Cobb County. Police have ruled it as a suicide based on available evidence, but is the evidence enough, or is there more beneath the surface? Join us next episode as we take a closer, careful look at the death of Kyle Basinga with respect, with clarity, and with the commitment to truth that every family deserves. That's the next time. Stay with us.
Okay.
Another night, another unanswered call. But her story echoes through us all. A life cut short, a truth concealed. A wound the world has yet to heal. We hold her name in the quiet air, a promise made that someone cares. Until the light finds her, we remain searching through the shadows of her pain. Every voice, every heart, every prayer, we carry Celeste, we carry her there.